Today I'm happy to introduce to you a friend and I would say the big guru from New York, Manhattan, and Sandy Ogg, who is the founder and CEO of CEO.works. CEO.works is kind of an interesting name for a company. How did you came up with that kind of name?
Well, first of all, Tero, let me say that it's a real pleasure to be here with you, my friend.
Yeah.
And a lot of congratulations. I know that today, while we're sitting here, marks the 40th year of the existence of your company. So a lot of congratulations.
Yeah.
Not many people achieve a milestone like that.
Thank you.
CEO.works actually began as a force multiplier for me in my work at Blackstone. I discovered after being there for a couple of years that as the number of portfolio companies was growing from some 70 to about 100, that we were watching the CEOs and the success or failure that they were having, and we were trying to understand because we knew in terms of investment outcomes that you have to buy the right asset. But secondly, you have to have the right person running it in order to achieve success. And this was somewhat anecdotal, and people had the feeling that that was the case. But when we started to look at the evidence, it was pretty clear that the right CEO makes a big difference, and that we were having failures and we were having successes. And we looked at the causes for failure, but I think even more importantly, we started to look at the causes for success. And rather than looking at it on a broad sort of company level, like built to last or good to great, those sorts of studies, we wanted to understand what is it that the CEO does? What is the work of the CEO, if you will? And carrying that a little bit further, what works and what doesn't work when it comes to CEOs.
Yeah.
And we found and discovered a number of them that were very successful, and we looked at the work that they did, and in fact the work of the winners was different than the work of those who were less effective or less successful, hence the name CEO.works. So what is the work that the winning CEOs do?
Oh, a pretty good explanation for it, but I find it interesting that private equity company, Blackstone has assets under management, some 300 billion. How a private equity company becomes a kind of forerunner how CEOs should work. What effects on that? Why is this not Stanford or Harvard or some consulting company? Why it is private equity? What does it offer us?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that and actually I think it's something you said to me once, that a professor in a university setting will attribute a certain amount of importance to the role and behavior of the managers in creating success. And that a corporation will attribute a certain amount to the value that the managers bring. But one of the things, very early on in the discussions with the really smart private equity guys, is they say, listen, there's only two things we have to get right. We have to buy the right asset, and we have to have the right person running it. And that's after 25 years of experience on their part in what is it that produces great returns. It's buying the right asset, and it's getting the right person running it. And so there has been, since the first day I walked in, quite a focus on ensuring that we had the right people. But what we have learned over time is that it's not just about picking them and getting them into the seat, but what is the work that they do that differentiates them. And that's opened up a whole new opportunity to create value.
And I think at this pressure of producing results, time window of 5 years, you have to add speed there and and make it happen. So that leads to question: what does CEO work then offer? What does it make for a CEO that you want to become successful?
Yeah, well, we didn't come up with theories about what was the work that the winners do. We went and talked to the winners. So we found initially 15, and now there are 21 of these leaders that we talk to them and we watch what they do. And in fact, their work is different. And so, an example of one thing that the winners do that others seem to do less is they zero in on where is the value in any given business. Where's the value today, and where is the value going to come from tomorrow? Okay. And then taking that and breaking it down into the jobs that actually deliver the value. And so there's a finite number of jobs. I mean, in a typical private equity investment, 25 to 40 jobs that make all the difference. And then taking and getting the right person into each one of those 25 to 40 jobs. So connecting talent to value. Mm-hmm. And so often, the human resource process is comparing talent with talent. Mm-hmm. And so ratings and rankings and all those sorts of things. Mm. But the difference here is connecting the talent directly to the value. And so these CEOs, the winners, seem to intuitively do that, knowing that if there's a critical job, I've got to have someone brilliant doing it. Mm-hmm. I've just got to have someone brilliant. And the people who are less successful, they tend to leave people in those jobs longer than they should. Mm-hmm. And sometimes leave them in them indefinitely. And therefore, we either get less value or we end up having to change the CEO.